Hello and welcome to episode 113 of the HamCorp Training Manual. In this episode, we finish off Mark III naqfuel, discuss the next immediate goals, and make minor upgrades around the base. Our infrastructure is stretched pretty thin, so it's time for a few episodes of infrastructure upgrades. Alright, naqfuel 3. I think it's done. I have made a flowchart for this, but I'm not going to discuss it in detail. I'll just throw it up on screen now. I'm not going to discuss it in detail because it's not that complex. It's mostly just stuff going in a straight line. I will say though that my setup here is slightly different than what my flowchart shows because I don't need to generate sand because I have tons of sand. I don't know where from, but I have loads. So once I run out, maybe I'll add the forge hammer and the macerator and whatever, but for now this is fine. And also I had to make 2 more electric implosion compressors because one just did not have enough bus space for me to do what I wanted, and it really bothered me that I'm not able to share this. I can't wall share this because of how this central 5 block thingies operate, because when the machine is running it kind of like spawns and deletes blocks. I don't know, it's a bit weird, so I wasn't able to get this to wall share, so I had to just do this, which is a bit sad, but that's okay. I'm also making chromatic glass constantly now, because I use it for laser vacuum mirrors and I use it for naqfuel based fuel. So I may as well just make a ton of this constantly. It's also used for other stuff later on, so it's probably good if I generate a nice big backlog. Besides that, everything is pretty straightforward. Things are just routed into places. There's stuff like the high density plutonium nuggets and the uranium nuggets that I don't want to have a lot of it. So I've just placed a chest here with storage buses, so once these chests are full and the output buses, then it's not going to make any more, and that's fine. And then the inputs, like the molten neutronium and these 2 wrapped ingots, I have them level maintained, so they're just crafted elsewhere in the base and brought here, because I couldn't justify making a whole new precise assembler just to make 2 ingots. It's a bit wasteful. So yeah, I need to set up some kind of alarm system to alert me when I don't have enough input materials, but I'll do that later. Or not at all. I don't know. Anyway, now if I turn on this naqfuel refinery, I should make my first Mark III fuel. There it is. Beautiful. The depleted fuel is going to get me quite a bit of oganesson compared to the depleted Mark II fuel, so that's nice. But I don't get any californium, which is slightly a bit of a downgrade. I get bedrockium and naqfuel instead, which, that's whatever. I can get that easily. But the oganesson is nice. Now, since naqfuel 3 is the start of the processing line for the rest of the naqfuel fuels, I don't really need to make naqfuel fuels 1 and 2 anymore. So I can kind of get rid of this fusion reactor and use it for other stuff, which is very nice because these are expensive. I might do that. I'll think about it a little bit more and see if I'm overlooking something, but I really don't think I need to keep these. But for now, I can swap out my fluid export here from Mark II to Mark III, and I'll keep the existing Mark II fuel as like an emergency backup in case I run out of power. Now, I am very curious to see how much power this is going to make. So let's just turn it on for fun, and let's see. It's it's capping because of the size of the target hatch. Alright, well, that's good to know. Alright, now let's look at this. Oh yeah, that's nice. That is very nice. Now, before I get into future plans, I have been facing some significant pushback from the EPA about my poor handling of pollution, and so we've struck a deal. All my muffler hatches around the base are to be replaced with UHV muffler hatches, and I've already started making moves here. So my neutronium blasters, which I don't know why they're off. My neutronium blasters are all running with UHV muffler hatches now. I will no longer be launching rockets from here because they're polluting, so instead I'll be using the space elevator to get into orbit. The Mega Multis also have UHV muffler hatches now. And yes, slowly but surely I will start replacing all my muffler hatches with UHV muffler hatches. Like, yes, I could just turn off pollution, but I kind of like the logistical challenge here. Not that it's much of a challenge, I just make better hatches. But still, Skinny Bill is dead. The only major polluter remaining in my base is the stack of extreme combustion engines and the stack of large combustion engines. So these are going to be quite expensive to upgrade muffler hatches for, because each one needs a muffler hatch and I can't share them because of the construction requirements. So that's a lot of muffler hatches. That is quite expensive. And at this point, I feel pretty comfortable in just ripping this down because the fuel is just that good. Like, this is a spec in my EU production at this point. And I have a nice big tank of Mark II Naquata fuel as a backup in case something goes wrong with this. And because Naquata fuel is so energy dense, I think I should be fine. So I think it's finally time to retire these things and potentially make another Naquata reactor, because 800 million EU per tick is better than 400 million EU per tick. But that's a maybe. I said at the end of last episode that there are two major things I want to work on. Number one, the compact fusion reactor. If I do this, I'm gonna go straight for the Mark IV compact fusion reactor, I think. Unless I need like a ton of plasma for something, then maybe I'll make the Mark III first. I don't know exactly what I'm gonna do here, but I do want to make one of these. Or multiple, but we'll start with one. That's one of my major long-term goals. Another one is to upgrade my component assembly line and maybe make a second one. So currently this thing runs on ZPM component assembly line casings, but I want to upgrade to UHV. I was originally planning on doing UEV casings, but they're a bit too expensive. It needs like 80,000 infinity ingots. Yeah, I'm good. That's too many. So I will instead do the UHV ones, which is still very expensive and slow, but much more manageable for me. Those are my current two major long-term goals. And of course, I can also start working on progression on the side. However, to do progression, I'm going to need Tengum ore, which is magnet backwards, but I'm sure you know that. And to get Tengum ore, I need a mothership, which is the final stage of space exploration. So I need to make a shuttle, and the shuttle will take me to a mothership. And the mothership allows me to travel to even more distant planets and solar systems. In this case, it only unlocks one new thing, I think, and that is all the way here. It's the system named Ra, and there's a bunch of different planets here, all named after, I guess, Egyptian gods. And I need to do this because Tengum is pretty much exclusively found there. I can space mine it with a Mark X drone, but of course Mark X drones need UEV parts, so I need some Tengum to get started, which tracks. That's how it's always been. There is a meteor ritual, but this is a joke. Like, this is not... I'm not doing this. This is pretty much only useful if you're doing some kind of special run. But this is just a normal playthrough, so I'm going to work on the mothership. So really I have 3 things to work on, and I'm not sure where to start. But I will admit that I have sort of been rushing progression for no good reason, and my infrastructure has just barely been able to keep up. I think I'm at the limit of what my infrastructure can handle right now, so I need to spend quite a bit of time upgrading stuff. And I've already started placing laser cables in the maintenance tunnels everywhere. And that's a good start, but there is plenty to do. So I think it would make sense to start with the easiest thing, which in this case would be the UHV component assembly line. So I'm going to get started working on those casings. This is a ton of UHV parts, which makes sense, and a bunch of cosmic neutronium. Honestly, not that bad. It's mostly a bunch of waiting for me. But there are 2 new things here. There's Abyssal Alloy, which is an ABS recipe that needs radon, and a bunch of other stuff that you've seen before, except there's also germanium now. I don't know if I have any germanium. I don't. But there is an ore that has germanium in it, so I'll probably just try to target this. It'll get me a bunch of other stuff as well. So yeah, I'll just source my germanium from this albernite ore, which I can get from space mining with a Mark IX drone, which I have. And that will be Abyssal Alloy. Another way to get it would be through milling, through sphalerite froth, but I honestly think that the space elevator method is going to be faster. The other thing that's new is precious metals alloy, which is just all of the platline metals alloyed together. So not too bad, except the osmium is a bit painful. I'm sort of struggling for osmium even now, but that's mostly because my platline is so slow. Everything is slow, because everything still runs at like LUV. Which at the time I remember being so impressed by how fast it is, but now I'm like, ew, it's too slow. But yeah, I'll start working on this, and probably I'll just see you when it's done, because I don't think there's anything else new here. It's just a bunch of crafting and waiting. Oh, I totally forgot to mention. So think about this, right? I'm trying to make these crystal processors, and I need lanthanum hexaboride. And I've complained before about how this is so painful to make, but I recently realized that actually you can save quite a bit on lanthanum hexaboride, and you get your crafts done faster if you upgrade the synchrotrons. So the synchrotrons accept laser connections, even though it doesn't say on the tooltip, which is a little unfortunate, but it does accept laser connections, and I've currently only upgraded one of my synchrotrons to use these 256 amp laser target hatches, and there's 4 of them, so really it's 1000 amps of CPM. I have the infrastructure to upgrade more, like I have the transformers in place and stuff. I just have to actually do it, but this shaves off quite a bit of time. So if you look back at the beamline video, you can see that the processing time, or rather the processing speed, scales with the square root of the power supplied, because the photon beam amount scales with the square root, and that's directly proportional to the processing speed. Basically what I'm trying to say is if I quadruple my input power, I will halve the processing time, which is basically just an overclock, right? But the key here is that by reducing the processing time, first of all, my recipes finish faster, which is just nice, but also it reduces the number of lanthanum hexaboride rods I need to provide. And also I want to kind of change this setup. I don't want to encode the number of lanthanum hexaboride rods that go into the recipe. I'd rather have this be a stocking input bus and then have like a machine controller cover that says, if there are items in the inputs of the target chamber, then turn on the source chamber. That way I don't need to constantly re-encode my recipes every time I upgrade something. So yeah, just a minor change I wanted to talk about. Still working on these component assembly line casings, but honestly I don't think it's gonna be that bad. It's mostly the motors that are gonna take the most time. I'm also low on naqfuel, which is not great. And neutronium. Ha! 1 neutronium. That is really not great. So what I called the filler episode was actually pretty well received. So I think I will go into a bit more detail about any logistical challenges I encounter, and I am currently encountering one. So to make my 43 UHV component assembly line casings, I need a lot of stuff. First of all, I need a bigger CPU to do it all in one craft, but that's easily solved, or I could just do it in multiple crafts. So the main issue here for me is I have to wait a lot for the neutronium and the cosmic neutronium. That's fine, that's just waiting. Lanthanum hexaboride is a problem, so I need to upgrade my beamlines. I'm still in the process of doing that. But osmium is really starting to be annoying because I have almost no osmium. I think it's still faster for me to just mine more osmium through meteors rather than through space mining, actually. Besides that, yeah, I have a lot of kind of processing throughput problems. For example, my naqfuel, I have so much naqfuel oxide. And this used to be a problem because I used to not have enough phosphoric acid. I should replace this with a stocking input hatch, but that's irrelevant. The point is that this centrifuge is just way too slow. I need to spam quite a few more industrial centrifuges for this to be processed at any appreciable rate. I think I'm going to make, I don't know, hard to tell, maybe 8? Maybe I'll make 8 in total, including this one. And while I'm at it, I may as well start upgrading all of these machines. If the neutron activators start being a problem, I can make it taller, and that increases the processing speed. But everything else, I'll have to upgrade energy hatches. Besides that, it might be time to spam a couple more Vulcani for the neutronium and the cosmic neutronium. I'm also running out of deuterium. I need to make a pump for that. I'm pretty sure I'm very low on helium plasma, so I need to make more of that as well. Xenon, this is actually not an issue. I do have enough. It's just my storage is capped, so I need to make larger storage. Maybe a quantum tank or something might be good here. Same thing with the lubricant. Same thing with the iron 3 chloride. Cadmium, bedrockium, those are fine. I can space mine them. Time to do more infrastructure work, and I'll just keep crafting subcomponents of this as I can. Like these 4,000 aluminium frame boxes, I can make them right now. Doesn't really need to wait. And that way I can reduce the crafting plan size too, so I can do it in one craft later on. While I wait for things to craft, I'm going around the base and trying to find things that I can remove. For example, the thorium reactor. The ancient thorium reactor over here. I really don't need this anymore. I had this running so I could generate lutetium, but I don't need to do that anymore. So I honestly think there's no reason for me to have this reactor, which means I can get rid of this cable, which allows me to tidy up some stuff downstairs. And similar to that, I kind of don't really need these 2 nuclear reactors anymore. They make a rounding error amount of power for me. So I can probably rip these up, and then maybe I can repurpose these steam turbines for other stuff, like plasma power, but Naquata is king, to be honest, so I may as well remove this anyway to free up this space for other stuff. Besides that, I'm having other kinds of material shortages as well. Like, I'm not making polybenzimidazole or polybenzimidazole right now because I am completely out of chlorobenzene. And I think that's because my pump on Mars has depleted the reservoir. So I need to move it, or I need to make an infinite pump, or I can progress a bit more and get my first space pumping module. This needs UEV parts, which means I need the mothership and all that, but it would be really nice. Though to be honest, for right now, I'm kind of leaning towards Mars. I could also make chlorobenzene, but I'm sort of struggling for chlorine. I'm out of chlorine itself. Like, I'm making it, but it's being consumed instantly because all these chemical processes need chlorine. Another thing I need to do is make more mass fabricators, the multi-block ones. And another thing I need to do is upgrade all of these machines, where relevant anyway, because some of these processes are pretty slow. Like the lanthanum hexaboride, this autoclave is really slow. And also just, this building is a mess. It has been a mess since day one. I just put down a cube and called it a day. And that was like a year ago at this point. That is not excusable. But I'm gonna excuse myself and continue working on getting all of this other stuff. I've slowly been crafting sub-components, so soon I'll be able to fit this into one CPU. But making 27K crystal processors is going to be expensive, and it's going to take some time. Thank you for watching this episode of the HamCorp Training Manual. In the next episode, we will continue on with more infrastructure upgrades, and we will remove or repurpose old machines that no longer need to exist. HamCorp would like to assure the Environmental Protection Agency that pollution levels are lower than they have been for literal real-life months. See you next time.